What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to discuss the earnings of major company this week and, of course, earnings of HIMS and HERS. Let's start with the S&P 500. This S&P 500 of yesterday. As we can see, a little bit mixed results, a little bit up, a little bit down. Nothing that much. Then earnings this week. Yesterday we already had earnings of HIMS and HERS and Palantir. We're going to discuss that in a bit. And today we also have the earnings of Celsius. On Tuesday, and AMD. Wednesday, Uber and Applovin. Uber is a tricky one, since this is one of the biggest competitors of Tesla. But it's the question whether they will be able to compete with Tesla, because Tesla's model is way more scalability is way better of Tesla than of Uber. So I'm not really a big fan of Uber myself. Applovin is one of the best performing stocks of 2024. Day after Thursday, Shopify, a very good company, of course, but overvalued, so not interesting for me right now. And for the rest, nothing really that much interesting. All right, this week also Wednesday, a new Fed meeting. And as we can see, the market is expecting that the Fed will not cut rates this time, but will keep it flat at 425 until 450. The market is priced in for 98% that the Fed will not cut rates this time, and only 1.8% think it does. If you look at the next Fed meeting in June, we see a 30% probability that the Fed will cut rates. Of course, we know that Trump has been pushing Fed Chairman Jerome Powell lately, but until right now, he's not giving in. A rate cut will be positive for the markets, but it's also showing that the economy is doing better. And it's the question if it does right now, or if it's the time to currently cut rates. So not only the decision will be very important for tomorrow, but also what Jerome Powell has to say about the rate cuts or the lack of rate cuts, and when they are to be expected, of course. All right, let's check out the first one, Palantir. As we can see, Palantir is one of the most overvalued stocks on the entire stock market, with a trading PE ratio of more than 650, a forward of 230, and price to sales of 105. Currently, this stock is not at all interesting to me because, of course, the high valuation. We see it's down pre-market because they had earnings yesterday. Then the next stock I want to discuss, of course, HIMS and HERS, is currently one of my biggest holdings in my portfolio, if not the biggest. Let's quickly discuss their earnings. Revenue of 586 million, up 111% year over year in Q1 2025. Subscribers grew to 2.5 million, up 30%, 38% year over year. It's a little bit down in the last few quarters, but it's still good. Especially this revenue, 111%. It's higher than what analysts expected, and it's just really good. Then they affirmed the full year 2025 guidance for revenue. That's really good, of 2.3 billion to 2.4 billion, and they raise their adjusted EBITDA guidance to a range of 295 to 335 million. Also looking good. And then they introduce a 2030 target of at least 6.5 billion in revenue, and 1.3 billion in adjusted EBITDA. So we can see this company is doing all right. It's growing very fast, and these numbers so far are looking pretty good. As we see, subscribers currently over 2.2 million people, and the monthly online revenue per average subscriber is 84, up 53%. That's looking good. Total revenue, as I said, 111%. It's pretty good. Gross margins a little bit down, 73% from 82% last quarter of 2024. And why is that? So as HIMS is growing as a company, it's focusing more and more on selling different kind of products. So basically diversifying their whole product stock. And as they've been selling like GLP-1s, so the drugs for weight loss, and that category has a lower gross margin, the overall gross margin will go down a little bit. So this is as to be expected and not that big of a worry. So I'm not really worried about this one for now. Net income, of course, 49, almost 50 million compared to 11 million last quarter. So almost times 5. It's very good. Net cash, almost 110 million compared to 25. Also times 4. And the free cash flow, almost times 5 from 11 to $50 million. So this is very good. Of course, the outlook for the next quarter. revenue of 500 until 550, 530, 550, and adjusted EBITDA. And for the full year 2025, revenue of 2.3 billion or 2.4 billion. Of course, we have seen in the last few quarters that HIMS Nurse always um, gets better results than their own estimations. And that's, of course, because they always tend to give a lower estimate for next quarter or next year, so that if they achieve better, then stock and the company will be in a positive light instead of setting a goal and then not getting that goal. That's, of course, a bit negative for the company. So HIMS Nurse tend to always give the outlook that's probably a little bit lower than they really expect themselves, so that they always can perform basically. So that's something to keep in mind of. But it's a very strong and good company overall. Then the balance sheet looking very good. Assets, current cash, $273 million, and the total assets 891 compared to last quarter 707. Of course, total liabilities also rose, but not as fast as assets, so assets are doing very good. Then the revenue up from $278 million to 586 million. Um, Gross margins of 73%. And what I find especially to be interesting is the following. Marketing costs are up, of course, since last quarter, but revenue is up more. So revenue is up more than $300 million, while the marketing costs are only up $100 million. So basically, they were able to grow the revenue three times faster than the marketing costs, which is very good for this company. Of course, net income per share, they're already profitable, so this is looking good. A little bit also of dilution, but that's not too bad for the growth phase that HIMS is currently in. Then, like I said, subscribers grew 38%. It was a little bit higher last few quarters. Let's check that out. Last quarter it was 45. Before that, 44 and 43. So a little bit down, but still, HIMS is a phenomenal company. And it's just very difficult to grow with the same pace if you can keep getting bigger and bigger. So this is a little bit as to be expected. And it will not worry me that much if it doesn't continue to go down anymore. Next, we're going to look at the earnings call transcript of yesterday. I highlighted a couple of interesting things for the company. This is Andrew Dudum, the CEO. We are launching new offerings in low testosterone and menopause support this year, with longer-term opportunities emerging in longevity, sleep, and preventative care as we expand lab testing and peptide capabilities. So it's a very interesting subject because testosterone, low testosterone is something that's very prominent these days on YouTube, on like the fitness community. And if they would offer something, product or service to test for that for not a too high price, then I'm sure it will be very popular soon. And it will get a lot of revenue. So that's very good news to me. Then something on the collaboration with Novo Nordisk. This collaboration also signals something important, trust from a major pharmaceutical leader, and it sets the blueprint for future partnerships that can expand both our reach and our relevance. So, of course, as HIMS is collaborating with Novo Nordisk, it sends like a signal to the community that, hey, HIMS is a trustable and respectable partner that should be taken seriously, even though still a small player with a market cap less than or below than 10 million, a billion dollars. The fact that they have this collaboration is got huge news, especially for their reputation. Over time, we expect wider collaboration across the industry, from pharmaceutical players, innovative leaders in diagnostic and preventative testing to world-class providers. So very good news. Then something from the CFO about the margins going down. I think on gross margins, we do expect those to sequentially increase. I think as we look into the ecosystem, we see a couple of things. One is just a benefit from economies of scale. Second is we do expect strength and growth outside of our GLP offering, which historically has come at a different margin profile currently. This is, as I have been saying before, the GLPs, the weight loss drugs, have a little bit lower margins than the other products they're selling. And as their weight loss uh, revenue increases and takes off a higher portion of the pie, of course the total margins will go down a little bit. But this is good news that the CFO is saying that the margins will probably rise or increase the next quarters or years. So overall, HIMS earnings were pretty good, um, even though the company is down a little bit pre-market, around 8 till 9%. The last few quarters it has been like this before. Every time HIMS would rise prior to the earnings and then drop a little bit after the earnings have passed. But the earnings were always pretty good, so this is like the same. I'm not really worried for the longer term. As I said in my last video, HIMS still has a short percentage of float for around 30%, so there's still a chance that the stock could face a short squeeze anytime soon, be that this week or the next coming months. I'm still holding on to my shares, and right now I'm not planning to sell them below $70. All right, let's take a quick look at the S&P 500. We see the market has just opened, and the high was around $642. The low around 4,850. And we see we're currently trying to test the highs. Previous lower high of 5,700 points. But we can see right now that the market is a little bit down. So we dropped a little bit. So if we do not break this previous high soon, we'll go down. Probably to test the lows. But we have a few more days or weeks to show us what's going to happen. Do I think we have seen the bottom? I think the biggest chance is yes. The chance we have seen the bottom is higher than the chance we might not have seen it. But we can always go down again, go low again, to test the previous highs around this level or around this level. And as we go down, chances to buy your favorite stocks cheaper and for a better price, of course, rise accordingly. Alright, that's it for today's video. Don't forget to leave any comments, questions you might have down in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.